Hello and welcome to Serendipity Intended. My name is Tracy Ann, and I am so glad that you are here. It is time for another spread in the Februllage challenge, and so today I am doing the 24th, which is Titanic. And I kind of got a little bit inspired by the page that I decided to use in this journal because there was something on it that just sort of reminded me of the Titanic. I am still trying to stay with the idea of whimsy and wit. So, being a little unserious and having a little bit of fun with my journal pages. And I don't think this one will be an exception. So here's the page that I chose. And I chose it for two reasons. One, because it had this compass on it, but also because it has this old colony line, which sort of feels like travel. And I thought that was appropriate for a spread that is inspired by the prompt Titanic. And so I found this sticker in a sticker book that I have, and it's a guy on a boat in the ocean surrounded by icebergs with a polar bear on it. And I sort of imagined that maybe he was a passenger on the Titanic and he picked up a fuzzy passenger. So that's the story that goes with this text. And so what I wanted to do was to create a scene for him. And so I decided to use this scrap bit as the paper to create some more of the icebergs in sort of the background. And this has kind of Gothic arches on it, but I thought that that structure sort of reminded me of the structure of icebergs. So I thought I could kind of use that as some of the patterning in my shape. So I just quickly traced something that was similar onto the paper, and that was my iceberg. Then I decided to go ahead and use, I was originally going to do pencil, and then I decided that I didn't really like the way that the pencil looked. It wasn't quite dark enough, so I ended up going back over it with a pen. And I am sort of glad that I did it this way, even though my original intention was just to use the pencil, because it let me sort of figure out where I wanted the lines. I don't do a lot of this kind of shading. And so doing it in pencil sort of let me figure out if what I was doing was really what I wanted to do. And then I could go back over it with the marker, which of course is permanent. And so that for me worked out a little bit better. And then once I was sure that the marker had dried, I went back and I erased everything. One of the things that I have discovered as I've been working through these prompts is not to take myself or my journaling too seriously, and to go ahead and be a little silly, a little whimsical, a little punny, even with the work that I was doing. And I've really enjoyed this journal very much as a result. Now I wanted to create more ocean water similar to what was in the sticker. And I remembered that I had this paper napkin and that it had this grass on it, and the grass that was printed on this napkin kind of reminded me of the waves in the water. And so I thought, well, I'll tear strips of this out and then I'll use that to create the water for the boat to be on. And then I just applied that using some napkin decoupage medium. Originally, my thought was to fill the whole page all the way to the bottom and up to the base of the iceberg with this, But after I tore the first piece off, I definitely didn't want any straight edges. I ended up deciding that I really liked the way that it looked, not going all the way to the bottom of the page. So a little bit of a happy accident there. It definitely was not something that I had planned to do, but I'm really glad that I was sort of paying attention to what I was seeing in front of me and that I went that route. This napkin decoupage medium is really nice. It's a little bit thinner than like a Mod Podge or even a gel medium, and I think it works really well with the napkins because it lets me adhere it without tearing the napkin, which is good. So then I decided I probably should go ahead and adhere the iceberg down since it was going to end up being underneath of my water layer anyway. Normally I would use a gel medium or a glue stick to adhere paper, but since I already had the decoupage medium out, even though it says it's for napkins, I went ahead and used it and put it on the page, and it worked just fine. So I had to give a little bit of thought to the direction of the grass so that it made sense with the water, and then once I had worked that particular puzzle out, I went ahead and put down that piece. It ended up reading not quite as clearly as I had hoped. And you'll see in a moment, the sticker ended up covering a lot of the waves, but you can see a little bit of it, and that's really all that matters. I'm still super happy about the idea that I had. Yeah, so this piece here that I went back and added in so that there would be more white waves ended up totally being covered by the boat once I put it down. Now, normally I would wait until everything dried to adhere down my sticker, but I was feeling a little impatient, and so you'll see in a moment I just went ahead and put it down on the wet Mod Podge. And then I took this, it's like a charcoal wash pencil, and so I took that and I went around the edges of the iceberg, particularly in the crevices, and then used some water to blend it just to add a little bit more definition to the iceberg and help it pop off the page since it is such a similar color. And the coloring of the shading actually ended up being very similar to the printing of the compass and the sort of travel label at the top. So I felt like that worked really well. Now I was a little bummed out after I peeled this off because I loved the idea of having the black frame, and that really didn't transfer onto the image as well as I had wanted it to. But it's fine the way that it is. Now I had two stars and I didn't want to use both of them, but I ended up deciding that I was going to go with the one that had the ship in it because I felt like that it worked better with the Titanic motif. I also wish I had tilted that star a little bit more, but again. So I have been using these sticker strips in a lot of my pages, and I thought never give up really fit this particular page. I imagined that neither the man rowing nor the polar bear are going to give up anytime soon. And so I thought that was kind of a little humorous to go with the picture. And yeah, so definitely had to add that there. And then I wrapped it up with another Dynamo label with the number 24 on it, just so that I could remember that this was inspired by the 24th prompt. And And then that was my page. So I hope that you make some time, even if you are feeling busy, to create something in your journal or for your journal, and maybe to stretch yourself, do something that is a little outside of what you typically do, for no other reason than to stretch yourself. I've been doing that with this journal and have really been having a lot of fun. And I'm kind of pleased with how this turned out, all things considered. Thank you for joining me today. And as always, I really do hope that you make yourself an absolutely fantastic day.